Introduction. One small step. Japanese corporations have long used the gentle technique of kaizen to achieve their business goals and maintain excellence. Now this elegant strategy can help you realize your personal dreams. Most of psychology and medicine is devoted to studying why people get sick or don't function well in life. But throughout my career as a psychologist, I have always been intrigued by the opposite of failure. When a dieter loses 10 pounds and keeps it off, I want to know why. If a person finds love after years of unsatisfying relationships, I'm curious about the strategies that made this happiness possible. When a corporation stays on top of its game for 50 years, I want to understand the human decisions behind the success. And so there have been two questions that have occupied my professional life. How do people succeed? How do successful people stay successful? Of course, there are as many ways to achieve success as there are successful people. But over the course of 32 years in practice, I have had the satisfaction of watching countless clients use an unusual method to create lasting change. They have applied the same simple principles to improve their lives in just about every way. They have lost weight, and kept it off, begun an exercise program, and stuck with it, kicked addictions, for good, created strong relationships, the kind that last, become organized, without sliding when things get hectic, and improved their careers, and continued to do so, long after their performance reports are filed. If you'd like to make a change, one that sticks, I hope you'll read on. This method is something of an open secret, one that has circulated among Japanese businesses for decades and is used daily by private citizens across the globe. It is a natural, graceful technique for achieving goals and maintaining excellence. It can slip into even the tightest of schedules. And in this book, I'll share this strategy with you. But first, I want you to meet Julie. Julie sat in the examining room, her eyes cast downward. She had come to a class medical center for help with high blood pressure and fatigue, but the family practice resident and I could see that much more was going on. Julie was a divorced mother of two, by her own admission a little depressed and more than a little overwhelmed. Her support system was shaky at best, and she was just barely holding on to her job. The young doctor and I were concerned about Julie's long-term health. Her weight, she was carrying more than 30 extra pounds, and soaring stress level put her at increased risk for diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and deeper depression. It was clear that if Julie did not make some changes, she was headed down a spiral of disease and despair. We knew a cheap, proven way to help Julie, and it wasn't a bottle of pills or years in psychotherapy. If you read the papers or watched the news, you can probably guess what I'm talking about. Exercise. Regular physical activity could improve nearly all of Julie's health problems, give her more stamina to sustain her through her grueling days, and boost her spirits. Once, I might have offered this free and effective treatment with all the zeal of a new convert. Go jogging. Ride a bike. Rent an aerobics video. I might have said, give up your lunch break, wake up an hour earlier if you have to, but just get up and make that commitment to your health 5 times a week. But when I looked at the dark circles under Julie's eyes, my heart sunk. We would probably told hundreds of patients to exercise, but very few of them made it a regular habit. They found it too time-consuming, too sweaty, too much effort. I believe that most of them were also afraid of breaking out of their comfortable ruts, although not all of the patients were aware of this fear. And here sat Julie, who worked almost constantly just to keep her kids housed and clean and fed. Her only solace was relaxing for a half hour or so on the couch most evenings. I could predict what would happen. The doctor would tell her to exercise. Julie would feel both misunderstood. How am I going to find time to work out? You don't understand me at all, and guilty. The resident physician would feel frustrated to see her advice ignored one more time, and possibly start to become cynical, as so many hopeful young doctors eventually do. What could I do to break this sad cycle? Charging uphill, innovation. When people want to change, they usually turn first to the strategy of innovation. Although you may usually think of innovation as a type of creative breakthrough, I'm using the term here as it's defined by business schools, where the vocabulary of success and change is highly specific. According to this definition, innovation is a drastic process of change. Ideally, it occurs in a very short period of time, yielding a dramatic turnaround. Innovation is fast and big and flashy, it reaches for the largest result in the smallest amount of time. Although the term may be new to you, the idea behind it is probably quite familiar. In the corporate world, examples of innovation include highly painful strategies such as mass layoffs to strengthen the bottom line, as well as more positive approaches such as major investments in expensive new technologies. The radical changes of innovation are also a favorite strategy for personal change. If Julie had wanted to apply innovation to her weight problem, she might have embarked on the kind of rigorous exercise program I mentioned. This program would require serious life changes. She would need to get her heart rate up for at least half an hour, 5 days a week. She would have to find the discipline to rearrange her schedule, cope with some serious initial muscle soreness, perhaps budget for some new clothes or shoes, and, most of all, she would have to commit to her new program through those tough first weeks or months. Other examples of innovation for personal change include diets that ask you to cut out all your favorite foods at once, quitting an addiction, cold turkey, austerity plans for getting out of personal debt, jumping into risky social situations to conquer shyness. Sometimes innovation produces amazing results. Most of us can recall making a successful change through the kind of dramatic means listed above, with immediate effects. With much deserved pride, you may be able to describe examples of innovation in your personal life, such as giving up smoking one day and never, ever returning to it. I applaud innovation as a way to make changes when it works. Turning our lives around on a dime can be a source of confidence and self-respect. But I have observed that many people are crippled by the belief that innovation is the only way to change. We ignore a problem or challenge for as long as possible, and then, when we are forced by circumstances or duress, we attempt to make a large leap toward improvement. If the big leap lands us on greener territory, we congratulate ourselves, and rightly so. But if we slip and fall, the resulting pain and embarrassment can be devastating. Even if you are a highly disciplined and successful person, I'll bet you can remember many times that you have tried innovation and failed, whether it was a crash diet that crashed or an expensive relationship cure, perhaps a spontaneous trip to Paris that left your romance in the same ill health. That's the problem with innovation. Too often, you meet with success in the short term, only to find yourself falling back into your old ways when your initial burst of enthusiasm fades away. Radical change is like charging up a steep hill. You may run out of wind before you reach the crest, or the thought of all the work ahead makes you give up no sooner than you have begun. There is an alternative to innovation. It is another path altogether, one that winds so gently up the hill that you hardly notice the climb. It is pleasant to negotiate and soft to tread. And all it requires is that you place one foot in front of the other.